Mae'r rheithgor yn barod a mae'r tystion yma efo ni pnawn yma. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon session on the 23rd of September of Measuring the Mountain. Our jury sitting comfortably and waiting for the witnesses to start, and we have some great witnesses this afternoon. We have Sue Nicholson from Mencap Chepstow and Amber Powell from Carers Wales. And we're going to start with you, Sue.
Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Right, I'd like to tell you about something that we put in place just after the pandemic started in March, and I'll give you a little bit of a background of what we were doing pre-COVID. So we ran day services and we gave support in the community for up to 57 adults with a learning disability. And we used to have up to 30 people coming in on a daily basis into a building. We were asked to close on the 13th of March, which was actually 10 days before Boris Johnson imposed the lockdown right through the UK. By the 27th of March, we set up a private group on Facebook because our immediate thought was we need to be in contact with everyone. By the 28th, we'd set up Zoom, and I'm sure everyone has gone along this path. And then I was a bit reticent at first, I will be honest. Someone came up with an idea of using our vehicle, which is a 7-seater, and the place where everyone used to go was called Berkeley, and they called it the Berkeley Booster Bus. And the first trip out during that week, we cover the whole of South Monmouthshire. So on a day, we'd choose a different location each day, and the bus went out with activity packs, because it was Easter, and with Easter eggs. And that was the start of it. And it went down really well because people had already been shielding for at least 4 weeks by then. And then people wanted it as a regular thing. So that's what we did. So we had 2 different staff who would drive the minibus and escort, and they would go out to one particular town on a day, and then on the 4th day, they would go out to the rural areas right out in the countryside. And we managed to visit every single person that we supported. And then we realised as well that they were missing things that they would have done as part of their previous support. So we were sending out activity packs, and it was something as simple as we were sending out things like nail varnish for the girls who would normally have been doing their nails on a Monday. And then with VE Day coming up, we sent out a pack where people could colour in their own bunting. And we then started taking photos, and each week, and we're still doing this, people would send in their photos or dancing or whatever they wanted to do to a particular theme. VE Day was marvellous. So lady who drove the bus one day, she'd be dressed up as a land girl. And what we realised, it wasn't just the visit where they had their photo taken. It was the preparation a few days beforehand. It gave them a focus, all the families a focus, really looking forward to that visit. And then again, we realised the importance of seeing people face to face. And a few weeks ago, we actually gave 27 of our guys a ring and just said, how are you coping with COVID? And what are we doing that you think is good? Because obviously you need the feedback of the people you're trying to support and trying to do the right things. And that was so interesting, very heartbreaking, I have to say, about how people are coping throughout all of this, especially as I think we all thought we were emerging from it 3 weeks ago, and now it looks as if we're going to go back to shielding, etc. And the one thing that came out of all of the feedback is how they were missing their friends and missing people. And then we said, right, well, what bits about the support that we do you like? because we do hold a lot of Zoom sessions. We are doing socially distanced walks. We try and make it so that people can meet up with their friends. And our staff ring everyone each week, possibly up to 3 times in that week. And sometimes the phone calls can be an hour long. And so we had the booster bus, the phone calls from the staff, and we had the online sessions. And the feedback showed, I'm just going to get my notes about this, that it's the booster bus, 96% mentioned, sorry, 92% of the respondents specifically mentioned the booster bus. Only 48% actually mentioned the staff phone calls. So although they were valid, the booster bus by far outdid those, and only 20% of respondents mentioned Zoom sessions. And we're finding that people are either haven't got access to the internet, or they struggle to perhaps see a Zoom session on someone's phone because it's such a small screen. So we weren't sure how long we were going to carry on with this booster bus because, as I said, support is now different, and we were gearing up for that. But actually, when we had this feedback, it makes sense to absolutely keep it going. It connects people, they see people, and that's so important. But it's actually acted as a bit of a post-delivery as well. And so early on, when we were all clapping for the NHS and doing rainbow pictures, one of our young ladies did a load of those in a week, and we were able to distribute amongst her friends. A support worker and her daughter broke up some bags of sunflower seeds. I don't know if you remember, but even seeds were in short supply. But they made up special little packs, redistributed them out, people planted them, and of course that culminated in a competition in June. But it's very simple things that we've done via this vehicle because we're actually seeing everyone, but they've been really important. And again, we've tried a theme each week. So for Learning Disability Week, we asked everyone to do a bit of a dance, and we videoed them. And it was to the Friends theme music, I'll Be There For You. And they thoroughly enjoyed that. And ITV Wales actually accompanied the booster bus when we went out on these sessions, getting the video material together. And then at the end of the week, that was all put together. And those that could access Facebook could go onto there and see their friends. And again, such a good theme. And not everyone's got props at home. So I think one of the weeks was Under the Sea. And one lad brought out a tin of tuna, which I thought was quite imaginative. But another one went all out and dressed as an octopus. So it's quite interesting. And it was lovely seeing the preparation and obviously the hard work that they put into it. So yes, we're going to keep it going. I think it's really important because the feedback from everyone is the missing their friends, and it's the face-to-face contact rather than telephone calls or online. So I hope that's good enough for a summary of what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Sue. That was great. And as I say, there'll be plenty of time for people to ask questions as well. They're starting to come in through on the jury's WhatsApp channel, so that's great. Thank you, Sue. I'm going to hand over now to Amber from Carers Wales. Thank you.
Diolch, thank you, David. Prynawn da pawb, a hyfryd i gweld chi gyd heddiw. Good afternoon, everybody, and really lovely to see you all this afternoon. So I'm going to give a brief overview of Carers Wales, which is part of Carers UK, and then I'm going to briefly talk to you about our 2 sessions that we've started since lockdown. So Carers Wales, we give expert advice, information and support to carers. We also connect carers, so no one needs to care alone. We do campaigning work for lasting change, and we innovate to find new ways to reach and support carers. So those are the four main pillars of Carers Wales. So I'm an engagement and volunteer officer for Carers Wales, covering South and Mid Wales, and my colleague Dawn Owen covers North Wales. So since the start of lockdown in the middle of March, before that we were looking at trying to do more online sessions to get more carers together across Wales, but we struggled to find the time to set up anything meaningful. And then obviously with lockdown, we had that chance to do so. So firstly, we set up what we call our Care for a Couple of sessions. And these take place every Tuesday afternoon between 2:30 and 4:30. So they started on about the 5th of April, I think it was. So quite close to the start of lockdown. These sessions are generally information sessions. We have different organisations coming to talk during those sessions. So we've had people like Welsh Water coming to talk about, how they can help. We've had other charities such as Alzheimer's coming to talk to us. We've had a solicitor come to talk about power of attorney. We've had Carers Trust, another carers charity, coming to talk. So there's a whole wide range of things that people have come to talk about during those sessions. So they come on for about an hour to talk about what they do and to take questions. And then we generally have a chat with the carers that have joined us on that session. Those, as I said, are every week. We're hoping to continue those until at least March 2021, and we're currently looking to continue them for the foreseeable future. Then, continuing from those sessions, we managed to get some further funding for other sessions, online sessions, and we call those me time sessions. So they're more practical things. So we've got things around psychological help, from how to deal with stress and anxiety. We have mindfulness sessions and things like that. But we also have more fun sessions. So last week we had a lady who did a flower crown. So each of our participants who'd booked onto the session was sent fresh flowers and the equipment to make a flower crown. Tomorrow evening, we've got a bingo session. We've got cookery demonstrations. So there's a lot of different things on those me time sessions. With the me time sessions, they take place on various dates throughout the week. So they're not the same every week. They can be mornings, they can be afternoons, they can be evenings, and there's weekend sessions as well. So for example, this weekend at 3 o'clock on Sunday, we have the #1 selling album duo Richard and Adam from North Wales coming to sing to us some classical songs for us. So some really exciting things going on there. That funding lasts until March 2021 as well. Again, we're hoping and currently looking for funding to continue those sessions into the foreseeable future. And we found as well, so myself and my colleague in North Wales, we found we're working a lot together across Wales now. And we're getting people who are turning up that we've never interacted with before, coming on to these sessions. And, people who live in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Powys, for example, or in the middle of West Wales or somewhere in the north of Wales, they're able to join from the comfort of their home, which, really, really helps when you're doing your caring duties. We have had a few people, I know Sue was talking about the difficulties with online sessions and people not necessarily having access to the internet. You can join Zoom sessions from a mobile or a landline, and we do have a few regular people who turn up from their mobile and landlines. So, you don't need to have full access to the internet to use that. So we have found that quite useful. And that really sums up what our Care for a Cuppa and Me Time sessions are. There's been lots of fun moments. I know before the session started, we had a brief talk with the people and saying that, you know, caring can be very difficult and emotionally draining and physically draining. And sometimes it's nice to be able to let go of that for an hour to do something fun and enjoyable. So yes, quite welcome to have any questions from anybody. But thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about our sessions, David, and the Measuring the Mountain team. So, diolch, thank you.
Diolch, Amber. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Just to explain to Sue and Amber, the process is just to overcome sort of Wi-Fi and technical issues around Wales. The jury have come up with this process where they WhatsApp all the questions. So I'll name who's sending the question and I'll read it out on their behalf. But they're their questions and not mine. So
Okay.
just want to be clear with that one. So, and it's first come, first serve, I'm afraid. So we're starting off with Joshua, who's got a question to both of you. And Sue, if you'd like to start, but the question to both of you is there anything that you all think that the Welsh Government could have done better in regards to improving social care during this pandemic?
Definitely. More communication. As part of the feedback that we had, everything just stopped. And so routine went out the window, company went out the window. The news was very frightening. People have said they felt very confused throughout all of this. But I think that's in general for everyone. No one really knew what was happening at the time, and I think the updates that we were having were just quite scary. And I think the regular updates from Mark Drakeford, great. But I do feel that perhaps they could have reached out more or perhaps funded more. For instance, the internet and the Zoom sessions, you know, we did at one stage think about going out and getting iPads for everyone, but we didn't do it in the end because we couldn't go face to face to train people how to use the internet. And the people that haven't been able to join, as Amber was saying, they just didn't have the facility, they didn't have the phone or the iPad. That's what we found.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Same question to you then, Amber. Is there anything that you think the Welsh Government could have done better?
Yes, but obviously hindsight is a very wonderful thing. It was a very difficult situation that no one across the world had ever experienced really before. But yes, agree with Sue. There are things that they could have done better. There are things that they could have improved. As you know, the communications could have been a lot better. But yes, it was a very difficult situation, and I'm hoping that they dealt with it as best as they could at the time. But yes, in hindsight, lots of things could have been improved and better. Does that answer your question, Joshua?
Thumbs up, Joshua? Yeah. Fantastic. There we go. Thank you, Amber, for checking as well. So Cyril has a question. And I'll start with you, Sue. It's about, do you work with local authorities in Wales?
Yes, we do. We're funded. Our day service, and we run a scheme called Family Aid, which was introduced about 27 years ago with the old Welsh office. And Family Aid means that we provide quite a good social network and support where families need the support. So yes, we're currently funded on a block basis by Monmouth County Council.
Fantastic, thank you. And Amber?
Yeah, so yes, so we work obviously across all local authorities in Wales. And we meet regularly with the RPDs, the regional partnership boards. So there is a citizens rep, a carers rep on the regional partnership boards that we are in contact with on a regular basis. So on that side, yes, and we update them as much as we can and as often as we can with what we're doing and what's going on with Carers Wales and Carers UK.
Thank you very much, Amber. Diolch yn fawr. Andy has a question to both of you, and start with Sue. Are there any changes in current legislation that could help with running your project?
I'm not sure about legislation with running our project, because I think our project is quite unique, and I think it ticks the boxes with what people want. We've tried to make it that it's of value, and it definitely is. It's something that I think would be a nice thing to carry on well into the future, but it depends on how services work out, because I'm hoping that we go back to pre-COVID support levels, and in the format that we used to provide that support. But of course, we're all restricted at the moment to what we can do. And especially with this spike that's happened again now, I think more people will stay indoors. And so it's going to be very valid to send this bus round, because at least people have face-to-face contact. But we still do the Zoom sessions as well. We do singing sessions, quizzes, Macathon, Zumba. We still provide that as well. But I think the bus has been valuable for the staff as well, because it's meant they've seen our guys, because in March, literally, it all came to a stop. Everything stopped in the way of any interaction between anyone. So yes, I think we will continue with it.
Amber, the same question to you then. Any changes in current legislation that could help with your project?
I know that carers across Wales especially have become more prominent in the eyes of the Welsh Government. I know that we've had some extra funding for the me time sessions, for example, because of how well our Care for a Cuppa sessions were running. I'm big on my stats. So from the 2011 census, according to the census, there were 370,000 carers in Wales. When lockdown occurred, that number was closer to 700,000. So, carers have definitely become more, more in the picture in the eyes of Welsh Government. So hopefully we can kind of help change or improve the legislation, but at the moment I'm not sure I can try and get some better answers from our policy officer in the office, if that would help. But yeah, Andy, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Amber. Thumbs up from Andy there. So a question to you, Amber, directly from Joanne. How do carers find out about your sessions?
Very good question, and if anyone's got some answers to help me with that, that would be marvellous. So Carers UK, Carers Wales and Carers UK, we're a membership charity. It's free to join our membership. We have approximately 4,000 members across Wales, so they are emailed quite regularly, updated with the sessions. All our sessions are on Facebook and Twitter. Carers Wales have a Facebook and Twitter account, and then we email all our contacts quite regularly, about monthly, to tell them what's coming up. So those links are available through our website, and those contacts, we have about over 500 contacts from local authorities, local carer groups, local groups such as stroke, MS, Alzheimer's. We email them regularly to disseminate to their people. But yeah, we're always looking at ways to try and find more people to be able to get involved.
Thank you, Amber. Right, a question for both of you now, and I'll give Sue the opportunity to answer it first. It's a question from Giles. Oh, it's two questions in a question. So, can you think of ways to encourage voluntary organisations to work more collaboratively and cross-regionally to support all carers and disabled people? Do you think that the current system of competitive tendering for specific bits of services leads to competition rather than collaboration?
Well, that's quite interesting because we've just finished a £1.4 million building project, and it was partly lottery funded, and then we had other grants, and the people of Chepstow, I have to say, have really pulled together and raised the rest. And the thing that was important in us getting the lottery bid was to have a look at yourselves and look at the outcomes and really what was the right thing to do. And the one thing that we were determined not to do is knock out competition in the area and really to fill the gaps and collaborate with other people. What we didn't want is for us, for instance, to bring everything in-house, because we still want to go out to other community venues. But we also didn't want, say, a night class to abandon where they were currently going and come to our building. That wouldn't make sense. It was a case of all working together. And very much that the heart of our building is that it's going to be used with the community and across all sorts of groups and generations. And we're hoping once it's open, unfortunately, we can't open it at the moment, but that is the whole purpose, because I think we're all working together. And some of the support now that's been put in place for some of our families and some of our guys has actually come from other providers. And again, I think they're looking at is what's best for the individual or the family. And so if we can't provide it as a provider and other people can, as long as we end up with the same result and that people's well-being is boosted, because that's what's going downhill at the moment, is the fact that people are really suffering, then we're quite open and we're quite a sharing group, if that makes sense. Obviously, you know, it might make things unviable, but hopefully we work it all together. I think there's more demand than supply, to be honest, at the moment.
I was agreeing with you there, and I had my microphone off, so that's not very helpful, is it? Thank you for that, Sue. So the same question to Amber, really. It's about collaboration, cross-regional working, and what we can do to encourage that. And does competitive tendering for specific bits lead to more competition rather than collaboration?
Yeah, very good question there, Giles. And I know that this has been a particular problem for lots of charity organisations, for example. Yeah, I mean, governments, lots of funders and governments are now looking for more collaborative work when we put in bids. So it is something that they've noticed themselves, and they're doing themselves. So we have a project at the moment called Carer Aware Project, and that's in collaboration with the Carers Trust Wales. So there is a lot more collaborative work going on because of the necessity when putting in a bid. So yeah, I think it's definitely moving forward, definitely getting better. But I do think there's still a lot of work that can be done. For example, there's lots of carers centres and carers groups across Wales that we're trying to work with. But I know in the past it's been kind of a very difficult situation because they think that we're trying to take over, whereas they're realising that we're trying to work with them, not against them now. So we're just trying to continue to do that, and hopefully it'll make it for the better in the future.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So Tafsilla has posed two questions, and I'm going to just start with the first one now, really. It's a specific one for Amber, to do with Carers Wales. Is Carers Wales an umbrella organisation for all carer charities? And if someone comes to Carers Wales, would they get the information relevant to other carer support organisations?
No, so we're not an umbrella. We're a standalone charity, so to speak. So Carers UK is the national charity, and then we have Carers Wales, Carers Scotland, and Carers Northern Ireland. There are numerous other carers charities across the UK and in Wales. So as I was saying earlier about Carers Trust Wales, they're also similar to us. They have Carers Trust UK, and then they have different organisations across the different countries. Yeah, so no, we're not an umbrella organisation. We're a separate organisation to all the others. And sorry, David, what was the second half of the question?
Well, I think you answered the question there. You're not an umbrella organisation. So if someone came to, it leads to that collaboration question, really. If they came to Carers Wales, would they get information from other carer support organisations about other carer support organisations?
Yeah, so we do have an information and advice line part of Carers UK, but we do have an information and advice officer in Carers Wales to give that more specific information. Obviously, laws in Wales are sometimes different to the UK government. So yeah, a lot of the work that we do is finding out what's available locally for them. We have a lot of that information to hand. Some of it's on our website, so we've got links to other organisations across Wales. So yes, we do a lot of signposting, but we do a lot of our own information and advice as well.
And then for both of you, Andy's next question links into that, really, is how do you get together as different organisations and network and share ideas? It goes back to Giles's point, I suppose, about collaboration. What sort of activities do you take to keep in touch with one another? Sue.
Okay, well, we work collaboratively with the local authority, and especially during this lockdown, which means we can report back how people are doing, and then as we've asked for extra support to go somewhere, the local authority has acted on that, and that's worked really well. With regards to working with other organisations, I suppose we've concentrated mainly on community groups in our own town. And that's, I suppose, because we've been fundraising and concentrating on building the building. But that's proved to be wonderful. So, for instance, we had a singing group coming in every Wednesday. So during lockdown, they've been on Zoom with us every Wednesday. And again, I think we're working closely with other community groups of all genres, not necessarily with carers groups or anything like that. It's been with local social groups. So that's what we've been doing.
Amber, anything to add?
Same things, really. Yeah, we contact other organisations across Wales constantly, asking if there's anything we can do for them, or maybe asking them what they can do for us. We've sent out quite a few letters since the lockdown in collaboration with lots of other organisations. So I think Oxfam took the lead about poverty across Wales, and I think there was about, I want to say 100 different organisations, but I'm going to be very conservative and say there was about 30 organisations signed. Very conservative rundown of the numbers there. So I'm going to say 30 organisations across Wales signed a letter to Welsh Government about poverty. So it's not just about, a lot of carers across Wales are in poverty. So it was very significant to be involved with that letter. There's been lots of other letters similar to that about social services, etc. So yeah, we're in touch with them a lot as a charity with different organisations, because bigger voice. More people is a bigger voice.
Yeah, go on, Sue. Do you want to come back?
I forgot the most important thing. What we have been doing weekly is being in contact with a lot of the other Mencap groups throughout the UK, and that's definitely been very helpful because we're all seeing the same things happen, and we can give each other advice, or if we've encountered a problem, we can share how it was solved. Easy read documents rather than us trying to create the wheel. We get it from other societies. That's been actually invaluable, and I'm hoping, well, I know that will continue even when COVID declines. It means that we're aware of things in the background, that they're hoping to get through legislation, what they're questioning, and I think it makes you feel less alone because they're a similar group to yourself, and you realise we're all encountering the same problems, probably just at different times, and that's been essential.
Linking to that is Claire's question for both of you now. Do the people you work with and service users report frustrations with things like assessment processes and direct payments and that kind of thing? And do you help people tackle this, and how? Amber.
Yeah, good question, Claire. I know Claire from some of our sessions, so hello. Yeah, we do get people reporting frustrations constantly, and it's very difficult. So a lot of what we do, we kind of try and put those frustrations into a report, try and put them together, try and get those stats together. If we're getting the same kind of frustration coming through all the time, we want to get that into a report and obviously send that to relevant people such as the Welsh Government. I mean, one of the frustrations that I know that a lot of carers have across Wales is the amount of surveys that they've got to fill in. I mean, we've had 2 this year, obviously met with Measuring the Mountain, but I want to kind of reiterate the positives of why those surveys are happening and why we have to do them. And it's to gather this information, such as people's frustrations, those reports bigger and stronger. And I know it's very frustrating for people to have to fill in these reports, surveys a lot, but there is a reason behind them. And the more information we have, the better that voice is to the government. So yes, I know we're asking for lots all the time, but please do continue to fill in those things. So that's what we're gathering, and that's where we're taking these things forward, and that's why things like Measuring the Mountain is happening, because we've gathered those reports together to put them into a document.
Thank you,
Is that okay, Claire?
That's great, thank you. So Sue, the same question really about understanding and capturing the frustrations that your service users have and what you do with that sort of knowledge.
Well, with regards to Monmouth County Council, which are our main funders, in all fairness, our support workers do attend the assessments with regards to, planning everyone's journey, I suppose, and what support we can give. And because we work with people to such a large extent, our support workers really know the guys. And that's been really helpful, that we have been included when any assessments have taken place. But regards to direct payments or anything financial, we're never party to that. So, for instance, we won't know if someone has a Motability car. We don't know what their financial background is. All we can go along and observe is what we can provide in the way of a service. We have in the past, people were very concerned, was it the PIP applications. That seemed to cause an awful lot of angst. But again, that's something that the family should fill out, and it's not an area that we as a charity really get involved in. But we do know they're frustrated. We know that the families don't feel that they get enough support. But we do highlight it. We do highlight it, and when it is needed, I have to say the local authority does put that support in.
Right, okay, thank you. So thank you very much. A question to both of you now. I'm going to start with Amber, and it's from Nina, and wants to know, where have you failed at supporting a community of carers or people, and how did you prevent it from happening again? Amber.
Oh, blimey, that's a very good question, Nina. I mean, for me, the biggest failure, I think, and I'm loath to call it a failure, but those are the words. Is
An opportunity to learn, maybe.
The opportunity to learn. That's very good. Well done, David. So obviously, with the statistics of 370,000 unpaid carers across Wales, at least, in the 2011 census, and only having about 4,000 members of Carers Wales, it's a quite a big missed opportunity for Carers Wales, and we're always trying to think of ways that we can improve that number of our membership, so we can get our message out to more and more people. I've always found, so I've worked in the charity sector for about 8 years now, and every charity is suffering from the same thing, and it's about marketing, and charities don't necessarily have a budget for marketing, and to be able to market ourselves, to get people to know about us. So yeah, perhaps that's a failure on our behalf, but it's a really interesting question, and it's a really difficult one to be able to answer. So I'm hoping that would answer your question a little bit, Nina.
Yeah, thank you. And Sue, same question.
We have tried to do everything we can to get carers involved, and we're a bit of a strange charity in that we've got the charity side of things, but we've got a formal support service as well. So there are carers who, to be honest, aren't necessarily interested in the social side of things. But then there are carers, mostly parents, who very much value the family involvement and the getting together. So we try to have coffee mornings. We have a lot of social functions, and the one thing that is good is the carers, especially parents, do, or even siblings, they phone our office and they divulge the most detailed concerns that they wouldn't necessarily say to their own family or to people like social services. And they use this as a sounding board. And we do always take up on that, whether it's we put in extra support ourselves with that carer, or we signpost them to the relevant place. What I am concerned with, I must admit, is how we're all going to go back to the new normal. And I feel that carers will need that support, sorting services out after the pandemic has gone away, because I think things will change. And I'm not sure that we're going to be able to be there to fight for them or support them, because that will be very much out of our hands. And I am concerned with things like future funding cuts, future changes in provision, anything that's out of our control. So I am concerned about that.
Thank you, Sue. Can I bring Amber back in there, please?
Lovely, thanks, Dafydd. I probably needed a little bit more time to get my brain working. I think and I know that Measuring the Mountain have struggled with this, is the difference between an unpaid carer, a paid care worker. And perhaps that's another failure on our behalf, is not having that distinction between the two. So we had many unpaid carers asking about £500 that paid care workers were going to get, saying, well, why am I not getting that? And I know that it's been a big struggle, is the difference between a carer and a paid care worker. And so, you know, trying to get that message across is very difficult. And the other thing I'd like to mention is the actual people classing themselves as a carer. It's a very difficult one, because people generally don't class themselves as a carer. Personally, I never classed myself as a carer. I was a carer from the age of 8 years old, and it was my mum, it was my dad. They needed help, that's what you did. So it's very difficult, and I know carers, you know, so many carers who do not are not able to bring themselves to say that they're a carer, as well as being a husband, a wife, a daughter, a mother, a father, a son. It's very difficult to get that, to get people to admit that they're a carer, so to speak. So that could be classed as a failure as well.
Thank you, Amber. I've got a question from Tafsila now for both of you, and I'm going to start this one with Sue. So Tafsila asks, how do we carry on the attention that was highlighted during the lockdown on the importance of carers?
To be honest, I think they've been ignored. We were told that many months ago. I just really think it's just going to go back to how it was, where carers aren't recognised. As part of the feedback about the support services we're doing at the moment, the questions were aimed at the individuals that we support, but the families gave us their views from their point of view, and they have been extremely isolated. And I am worried about carers. I don't think it will happen. I think it was lip service. And I truly believe that. And I think in the future we'll see that with regards to cuts. I don't think they've showed, you know, they all said about care, especially in Carers Week, and clapping for the NHS, but really, have any of us seen any improvements? I don't think we have. I don't think we will do. I think once this is over, it'll all be forgotten. I don't see anything that's come through that's made me about it. It was very much lip service.
Thank you,
That
Sue.
comes across strong, but I really do believe that. I don't see any improvement at all.
That's why you're here as a witness, Sue. So you
Right.
say what you think. That's
Okay.
really helpful, and that's why you're here. So thank you. Amber, the same question to you around the attention of carers during lockdown, and how do we carry it on?
Yeah, I mean, that was really emotive from Sue, and I, much as I agree with you, I live in hope that it's not going to be the case. But again, it's living in hope, and I think, you know, now is you know, a good a time as ever, while carers, unpaid carers are still in the news a little bit, even if it's not much. It's now, you need people to come together and keep that momentum going. And unfortunately, like Sue, I do believe that momentum will be lost, and things will go back to just as they were or worse. So if we can get people together to give their voices, to shout as much as you can, now's the time to move forward. And I don't want to sound like I'm heading up the army for the Wales carers, but you know, it is important to keep raising your voices, to keep giving your stories, to not go into the shadows. Please do come forward and put your voices together.
Thank you, Amber. Again, thank you for your honesty and your passion there. It's got a question from Josh for you, Amber. So studies show that only 79% of disabled people use the internet in Wales. What do you think local authorities and Welsh Government need to do to improve this?
Well, that's a very good question, Josh, and a question that I think definitely is coming into the forefront now that lots of people are isolating and do not have access to the internet, etc. I've noticed there are more grants available to be able to get technical equipment such as iPads and computers and laptops. I've noticed there's a lot more grants that are becoming available across Wales, which I think is excellent. There's a lot more free courses available to learn how to use that technology. So I know previously a lot of groups I visited, they used to have sessions on how to use your technology, but they were never very well attended. Generally people kind of fought against using the technology if they didn't want to use it. But you know, one of the positives of the lockdown is it's forced a lot of people to have to use it and to get themselves online, and so I think that's positive in a way. So yeah, I know that there are a lot more things available now because of lockdown. So hopefully, does that answer your question, Josh, a little bit?
Yeah. So Josh wants to find out about grants and training for these local authorities, and hopefully we can provide you with that information afterwards, if that's okay, Josh, because we've got about 8 minutes left before the end of the session, and I've got lots of questions. So I'm just going to try and go through as many as I possibly can. So Victoria is the next one now for both of you, and I'll start with you, Sue. If you could tell me how you reach new carers and parent carers during these current times.
How do we reach the new parents?
Yeah, new
Parents
carers,
parents.
parent carers, yeah.
Well, it's nearly everyone that we support is referred to us. So social services would put the referrals forward. We are actually starting to support a young chap that's been introduced. We've just met him the last 2 weeks. So that is ongoing. We haven't seen any changes to that. It will still be the same process. Yeah, so I don't think that will change.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Amber, anything to add?
Again, back to a question that's, you know, about marketing and how we can reach those, and we're quite open to suggestions on how you think we can better reach people. Obviously with parent care is a lot more of the kind of middle-aged group, have, you know, a lot more people do use the technology such as Facebook and Twitter, the internet. So that's where we're trying to reach out to people, but and asking people to share stuff. So, but if you've got any suggestions on how we can reach more carers and how we can reach more parent carers, for example, we're very open to suggestions.
Thank you very much, Amber. Again, going back to Sue, this is Rob's question, but it's a question for both. I'll start with Sue. Rob's question is, what would you like Welsh Government to prioritise moving forward?
Just to get back to how we were pre-COVID, learn the lessons that we've all learnt. Like Amber was saying about the internet, etc. I think we need it more and more now, but actually the training and the facilitating of the use of the internet for everyone is hard because we can't meet face to face. So you could do with training someone how to use the internet over the internet. And we're caught, aren't we? That's something, for instance, we'll address when we get back to face-to-face support. So, yeah, that's all I've got to add on that one, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amber, priorities for Welsh Government moving forward?
Well, definitely social services need to be very high up on their priority list. And, you know, there's lots of things previous to lockdown that I don't necessarily want to go back to how it was. There's lots and lots of improvements there. I mean, our Carers Wales, a lot of our main concerns at the moment is the changes that they're making to the Social Services and Wellbeing Act. So obviously we're keeping a very close eye on what's going on, and being involved in meetings and making sure that we know what those changes are, to see if they're detrimental to carers across Wales, and to try and stop those changes where we can, or at least improve those changes wherever they make them. So definitely, obviously, social services, yeah, definitely prioritise that one.
Okay, Sue, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, that's absolutely my main concern, and that's what I was saying. When I say go back to how it was pre-COVID, I don't think that we are receiving all the information about what is happening in the background with regards to social services and other things that are happening. And I am worried, like you, Amber, that things will be brought in and perhaps catch us off guard. And I don't want it to be under the guise of, oh, well, it's COVID, so we can't do this at the moment. And it's the temporary things that have been put in place. I raised my concern about 10 weeks ago with the other Mencap groups, and then they opened the floodgates as well. You know, are things going on people's care plans, which might be a temporary measure now, but all of a sudden become permanent? And that's what I was saying about the carers, and, you know, will there be an improvement? I really don't think. If anything, I think we're going to come out of this a lot worse off.
Thank you.
Sorry, David.
Yeah. Gosh,
I'm
you're
conscious
trying to
of
get
time.
it all in.
I'm very
Go on,
conscious
Amber.
of time. So one of the biggest things that carers have been feeding back to us is the massive worry at the moment that social services are going to turn around when we come out of lockdown, or if we come out of lockdown. The biggest worry is they're going to turn around and say, wow, you managed to cope, why do you need our help? And that's a very big concern at the moment.
I wonder if, yeah. I think I'm very tempted just to do this, to combine two questions and give you a chance to answer both. Okay, so for both of you now, how closely do you, it's combining Tafsila and Giles's question, how closely do you work with the NHS and GPs, and do you think they understand the role of voluntary sector in supporting carers? Amber, since your microphone's on, go for it. You've got a minute.
Right, I'll try and be as quickly as possible. So yeah, we try and contact GPs constantly. It's very difficult. I mean, GP surgeries are very difficult to crack, because there are numerous charities, numerous organisations, numerous businesses contacting them with all the different kinds of things that are available to them. A lot of GP surgeries across Wales at the moment are working towards carer-friendly certification, and they do generally have somebody who is specific in their surgery to help carers. So it's kind of only really been started recently, but it is a growing phenomenon, and it is improving, but still a lot of work to do.
Okay, and the same to you then, Sue. How closely do you work with the NHS and local health boards and GPs, and do you think they understand the work that voluntary organisations do in supporting carers?
With regards to local GPs, great relationship. And so for our elderly people that we support, actually, support is leaning more towards medical appointments, etc. With regards to the NHS, we have had appalling experience with them, and I just don't understand it. And it's been in our local hospitals. It's been very detrimental to some of our guys. Quite bad experiences, which we've then involved social workers with the outcome and trying to sort that out. Unfortunately, it tends to be after the event. But what we do value an awful lot is we have a lot of nursing students on placement with us, because I think it's really important for them to be amongst people with a learning disability so that they've got a better understanding when people we support end up in hospital, because they need those staff that are going to be on the wards. And I think there's either a lack of understanding, that tends to be most of it, is the lack of understanding. The lack of communication has been really bad as well.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Sue Nicholson from Mencap Chepstow and Amber Powell from Carers Wales, and of course to our jury. Please stay on the line, but we're going to draw a close to the afternoon session. Ga'i ddiolch yn fawr iawn i'n tystion heddiw, Amber Powell a Sue Nicholson, a hefyd y rheithgor am cymryd rhan. A dyna diwedd ar sesiwn pnawn mesur y mynydd a di Mercher y trydydd ar ugain o mis Medi. Diolch yn fawr iawn.